Hey, it's Catherine here, ready to do your tapping video around anxiety and depression. So just as a reminder, and I know most of you know this already, but just in case you need a little bit of a refresher, we're going to start with a setup phrase, and that is really where we just state the truth. So we say, even though I have this anxiety, or even though I've been struggling with this anxiety or this depression and anxiety, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, right? That's the setup phrase. We're going to do something that sounds just like that 3 times. And while we do, where am I here? We're going to tap on the karate chop point. So even though I have this anxiety, right? We're going to tap 3 times as we sit. We're going to tap as we talk through that setup phrase 3 times. And then I'm just going to begin circling through the rounds of tapping. And again, as a reminder, just so you know where I'm going, we're going to start at the top of the head, the inside of the eyebrow, outside the eye, under the nose, under the lip. This little notch, can you see me? Whoop, this little notch here in the collarbone, and then under the arm. And those are the points that we will continue tapping through. In fact, I'm going to actually make a little shift here and see if I lower my computer. Maybe we can see these points a little more clearly. So you can see the collarbone and then under the arm. So we're going to go with it at this level. Okay, so here we go. We're going to tap on anxiety and depression. So even though I've had this anxiety as long as I can remember, and I'm so tired of feeling this way, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I've had these anxious feelings, and someday it makes it hard to get anything done, I deeply and completely accept myself and my feelings. Even though I have this anxiety and sometimes this depression, and it makes it hard to even get out of bed some days, I deeply and completely love and accept myself and all my feelings. All this anxiety, I feel it in my body, this tightness in my chest, this pressure in my chest, like someone has a grip around my heart and it's hard to get my breath. I feel it in my belly, this discomfort, this churning, this whirling sensation. It gets worse when I'm in new situations or I have to try something new or different. All this anxiety, it's been with me for so long. I'm so ready to be rid of it. I just want to live my life without it. All this anxiety, all this depression, this not feeling good enough, all this tightness, all this constriction, all this contraction in my body and in my mind. I know there are things that I could do that might make me feel better, even like tapping, and yet there's still some resistance. I have this resistance to doing the things that I know could make me feel better. This is part of the anxiety. It's part of the depression. Somehow the ego mind is not allowing me to do the things that I know would make me feel better. And it makes me curious about what part of me is resisting feeling better. Is there a part of me that, for reasons I don't fully understand, want me to continue to feel anxious or depressed? And I wonder why. It doesn't make sense to my logical mind. Why would anyone choose anxiety or depression? It feels awful. It doesn't let me be who I am. It doesn't let me live the way I want to live. It doesn't let me feel the joy that I want to feel, because all of my emotions, all of my feelings are dampened down. It's hard to feel real joy or excitement or enthusiasm for life, because that dial on the anxiety and that dial on the depression have been turned up so high for so long. It's not easy going through life like this, to always feel the worry, to hear the negative thoughts in my own mind, the self-criticism, the self-sabotage, not doing things for myself that I know might help, or trying things and then getting frustrated because they don't seem to be making a difference. All this anxiety, all this frustration, all this depression. Hard to get through the day sometimes. Sometimes there are longer periods, or I can barely get through the day. It's hard to make myself do any of the things that I need to do, or that I know I could do to help me feel better. And I don't understand this. Why do I have this resistance? Why do I hold myself back? Why do I not do the very thing or things that I know will help me? Perhaps there's a part of me that doesn't want me to feel better. Perhaps the old familiarity is stronger than the desire to feel better. Perhaps it's just being in that familiarity zone or comfort zone, even though it's not very comfortable. All this anxiety, all this depression, all this discomfort. Perhaps I've just gotten used to it. Perhaps it's like my set point. This is what I know, and so this is where I'm going to stay, even when there's a part of me that wants to feel differently, even when there's a part of me that wants to feel better, even when there's a part of me that wants to feel relaxed and calm and easygoing and able to flow with life and all the things that it presents, who wants to feel joy and happiness and excitement and expectation, and really be able to hold on to those feelings for more than just a fleeting moment. And yet, I continually return to this anxiety, to this depression, to this low energy, to this worry, to this concern, to this not being able to be the person I want to be. But instead of getting angry with myself, or short with myself, or frustrated with myself, perhaps I can become curious, and I can begin to wonder or ask what it is about being anxious or depressed that some part of me wants to stay stuck in. It's an old pattern, and the answers might not come quickly or easily, but I can imagine that somehow this anxiety or this depression is serving a purpose for me. And if I could determine what that purpose is, what's the deeper meaning, what's the deeper purpose to these feelings of worry and fear and concern and negativity and pessimism, then perhaps I could make a change. Because I know that there's a large part of me that wants this to be different, that wants me to feel different, to be able to engage in life more fully, to be able to be more of myself, relaxed, easygoing, laughing easily, seeing the joy and finding the happiness in everything that life brings to me. Because I have a lot to be thankful for. I have a lot to be grateful for. And so I don't really understand all this anxiety and all this depression that just seems to have such a hold on me. So I'm going to stop and breathe here for a moment, just wrapping up this round, taking a moment to tap on the karate chop point and letting the energy settle. So I'm going to have you just stop here and take a moment and check in with yourself on the 3 levels that we've talked about. On the physical level, What do you notice in your body now? Has anything shifted from when we started? Constriction in your throat, tightness in your chest, discomfort in your belly, energy moving or feeling stuck in your body. Just notice what's different without needing to do anything about it. Taking a moment to check into the mental body. What thoughts are going through your mind now? Has anything quieted down? Are your thoughts any different than they were before we started? Have any new thoughts come into your awareness? Perhaps new information or ideas about what might be underlying this anxiety or depression. Again, just noticing without any judgment, without any need to do anything right now. Just noticing your thoughts and remembering that you are not your thoughts. They are just mental constructs that are moving through your mind. You don't have to grasp onto them or hold onto them, but they'll be useful to observe so that we can roll them into this tapping. And then finally, what you're noticing in your emotional body. Has anything shifted? Have your emotions become less intense? Do you feel lighter? Have you moved up at all on the scale of emotion? And so you have an opportunity now to do your own tapping sequence using any of the words or phrases or ideas that I used in this first round, perhaps to take yourself off in one particular area or another. Something may have resonated with you, something might have gotten triggered with you, that it might serve you to just do some tapping around that particular piece. And you can certainly put this video on pause and go ahead and do your own tapping and then come back to the video again. But if you want to just stay with the video, I'm going to do a second round now and mix it up a little bit, and we'll just see where this takes us. All right. So even though I still have this anxiety and it hasn't gone away with one round of tapping, there has been a little shift and a little change in my physical body, in my mental body, and in my emotional body. And I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I've had this anxiety for my whole life, and depression for a long time too, and it hasn't all gone away in one round of tapping. There has been some slight change, and I'm going to celebrate that, and I deeply and completely accept myself and my feelings. So even though I still have this anxiety, I now have a sense of hope that perhaps it can begin to lift or shift or change, and I deeply and completely love and accept myself. This anxiety, this depression, it's been with me for such a long time. And I have some ideas now about what might be underlying that. And I know, this is not news to me, that my childhood was difficult. That even though it was loving, and even though I received what I needed on some levels, there were things that were missing, things that weren't present, that perhaps made me feel unsafe or unloved or not good enough. Or that I needed to be perfect, that somehow I needed to have the approval of the people around me, particularly my parents, in order to feel loved and to feel safe. Love and approval, they often get confused, especially in a child's mind. And the truth is, I can recognize now that having someone's approval isn't the same as having someone's love. And so there may have been parts of me that needed to be perfect, or thought I needed to be perfect, to do everything right, to have all the right answers, to never get it wrong, to always know what was expected of me, to always know the answers. And of course now I know that this is impossible. But as a child, I didn't know that. And so there was a part of me that was always trying so hard, always trying to please, always trying to be recognized, always trying to get the approval of those around me, especially of my parents. And approval became symbolic of love, when in fact approval and love are not the same things. But in a child's mind, when I was a child and I felt recognized or approved of, or I made someone happy or proud, I equated that with love. And it may be that I still do. And so there's a part of me, those younger parts of me, that were always trying to figure it out, always trying to figure out what someone else may have wanted of me, always trying to figure out the right answer or the right thing to say or the right question or the thing not to do that may have been just as important as the thing that I should do. So I was always in my mind figuring out, analyzing, plotting and planning, always trying to get the approval that wasn't always there for me, thinking that approval equated with love. And that part of me is still alive and active, even though I know on one level that I can't be perfect, that I can't possibly get everything right or figure everything out. There's a part of me that's still caught up in that process. The part of me that's anxious, the part of me that gets depressed, the part of me that's trying to analyze and figure everything out and have plan A, B, and C clearly outlined. The part of me that gets down on myself, that is mean to me if I don't know something, or if I have to ask for help, or if I get something wrong, or if I screw up. But the truth is, that's life. That's how we learn. We get it wrong, and then we figure out what we can do differently the next time. We screw up, people get angry with us, and that's how we can commit to doing it differently next time. We do the best we can in any situation that we're in, just as you did as a child. You did the best you could with the resources and the skills that you had at the time. And holding yourself accountable or blaming yourself or being filled with self-criticism or negative self-thoughts or self-sabotage is really not serving you any longer. It's time to love yourself free of this anxiety and this worry and this depression. To recognize yourself as perfect, exactly the way you are, and at the same time letting go of the need to be perfect, because it's not possible. Or perhaps you already are. We are perfectly imperfect, or imperfectly perfect, however you want to say that. You are already everything that you need to be in this moment. You can't and you don't have to figure everything out, overanalyze, make yourself crazy, trying to figure out all the possibilities, to analyze all the potentialities, to make everybody else happy, to want everyone else's approval, to beat up on yourself, to should all over yourself when things haven't gone exactly the way you'd hoped they would. The truth is, it's time to let that all go. You came into this world in original brilliance. Everything that you need, everything that you are, is already inside of you. That beautiful, bright light, that shining, beautiful child of creation is inside of you right now and has been in every moment. And so I invite you to give yourself permission to let go of the criticism, let go of the negative self-talk, let go of the old judgments and the old stories of yourself and others, because the truth is, we were all doing the best we could. And it's time now, if you really want to step into more of who you are, into those higher vibrating frequencies of joy and appreciation and gratitude and freedom, to let go of those dense energies that are connected to those old stories, those old ways of being, those old limiting beliefs, those old programs and patterns. They aren't the truth of who you are, and they aren't serving you any longer. And I invite you to create some new stories, because the truth is, you are the author. You have the authority to write the script for your new life exactly the way you want it. And as you do, to notice how often you might fall back into those old patterns, into those old stories, into those old beliefs or judgments or criticisms. And I invite you and I ask you with real clear intention and conscious awareness to begin to tell a new story of the truth of who you are, a beautiful, talented, gifted, brilliant soul, right? Who's come onto this earth plane, onto this planet, to bring yourself and your energy and your light to others, to yourself. First practicing self-love, and the rest will come along. So just breathing that in for a moment, recognizing the truth of that, coming back to the karate chop spot, easily and effortlessly back to the breath, letting your hands relax, letting the energy settle, and then being fully present in this new belief system, in this new energy, in these new thoughts, in this new story of who you are. Coming back and tapping as many times as you choose, along with this video or with any script of your own that you have written as a takeoff on this video. And even if you feel some resistance in doing this, know that you can tap on the resistance, right? Even though I have this resistance to tapping, I deeply and completely accept myself and my feelings, because the ego mind is tricky and it will try to take you out of this game. It will try to get you back into your old, familiar, comfortable patterns, even if you're miserable and unhappy there. So you be the author. You decide which path you're going to take. And if you feel the resistance coming on, if you notice you're procrastinating or telling yourself I'll get to it later, or well, maybe this doesn't really work anyway, or I'm not sure I'm doing it right, or whatever stories, right, that ego mind is going to create, let them go. Start tapping on your resistance. It's one place to start. And if you have any trouble or questions, please be in touch. I'm always here to be at your service. Bye now. Namaste.